So I may have mentioned this before, but last year, not this coming year, but last year on my birthday, I set the intention of focusing on the 5 remembrances and reciting those every day. And I'll say a bit more about what they are, and I was really pleased that I was able to consistently engage in this as part of my morning meditation practice throughout the year. And while remembering, and some of them are, I can't escape getting old. I'm going to get old. I can't escape ill health. I'm going to get sick. I am of the nature to get sick. And I can't escape dying. Now, that's a powerful practice to appreciate each moment, each precious, impermanent moment. But, the weeble wobble is it can get a bit grim, a bit intense, focusing on those phrases. So when my birthday came up again, as it will, this year, I decided I might need to lighten things up a little bit, create a bit more balance. And so I decided my intention for this year would be to cultivate joy. And, I kind of took initially a sigh of relief. Okay, joy. Let's have some fun, some happiness. But the challenge of this intention became very quickly apparent to me. First, I realized I've spent much more time and effort practicing loving kindness and compassion than focusing on joy and happiness. Even though with loving kindness phrases, I wish happiness for myself and others, I realized that I tended to skip over that happiness wish, not really focus on that and feel more into the wishing freedom from harm for myself and others. Happiness just didn't seem as worthy as wanting to relieve suffering. That seemed like a much more noble intention than just wanting everybody to be happy. And perhaps many of us are more familiar with suffering and more comfortable with wishing to relieve suffering than with actively cultivating joy, delight, happiness, contentment, all the different flavors of joy. And I'm realizing how many flavors there are, from tears of joy to, enthusiastic, exuberant joy. So as I sat with this, I came in touch with my own biases, my own conditionings, my own habitual reactions to this notion of happiness and joy. And as all of my compatriots have mentioned in their lovely talks in the last 2 weeks, joy seems perhaps a bit more superficial, a bit more selfish, self-centered, insensitive, unconcerned with the pain and suffering of the world. How can I wish for joy intentionally in this world on fire became the challenge, as I spoke to last week. And I realized, rather than questioning, how can I wish for joy, perhaps the better question might be, how can I not, in this world on fire, put wise effort and joyful effort into cultivating joy? And as Lee mentioned, there's a lovely book, The Book of Joy, about a gathering on the Dalai Lama's 80th birthday with Bishop Desmond Tutu. And in this book, they speak to how central joy and happiness is, not just to our practice, but to our life. The Dalai Lama states, what is the purpose of life? I believe that the purpose of life is to find happiness. From the moment of birth, every human being wants to discover happiness. No differences in our culture or education or our religion affect this. From the very core of our being, we simply desire joy and contentment. This isn't a self-centered activity, but a human imperative. He goes on to say, joy is our essential nature. Our desire for happiness is, in a way, our attempt to rediscover our original state of mind. Bishop Tutu and the Dalai Lama repeatedly return to the awareness that the way to cultivate joy is also through cultivating compassion for others as well as ourselves, and courageously facing, not averting, the pain and the suffering of the world. And as I was processing this and letting this sink down into my being, what bubbled up was the term fierce joy. Practicing the cultivation of joy is not for wimps. This is not an easy way out. It's not an avoidance of pain. It's not escapism. It's a strong, determined choice to bear witness to the pain of this world on fire just as it is, to face the vulnerability that's been talked about, and still be open to the possibility and experience of joy. We can't afford to wait until the world is at peace, until the whole world is fair and just, until all beings are free from suffering to be happy. No, it's not that we'll be happy when all that is in place. It's being happy in this moment. If we want to wait for all that to happen, we'll be waiting a very long time. It's been 2,500 years since the Buddha, and we're still waiting. Christina Feldman echoes this in saying, joy has to do with having the openness of heart to receive life as it is. And Desmond Tutu echoes this again, saying, discovering joy does not save us from the inevitability of hardship and heartbreak. In fact, we may cry more easily, but as well laugh more easily too. Perhaps we are just more alive. Yet, as we discover more joy, we can face suffering in a way that enables rather than embitters. We can have hardship without becoming hard. We can experience heartbreak without being broken. That requires fierce warrior joy. Perhaps that's why mudita is the third of the Brahma Viharas, that we've had to have built up our heart muscles through practicing metta and karuna first. Now we're ready to accept the challenge of encountering and working on our edge of joy. Again, as Christina Feldman suggests, learn to explore our edge of joy and discover what is possible here and now in this moment, not waiting for a miracle to happen, allowing the miracle into our hearts in this moment. She quotes a Chinese saying, and I love this, you should keep a green bough in your heart. The singing bird will come. And I don't know about you, but in the last few weeks or months or perhaps years, I'm not sure I've always kept that bough in my heart. I've noticed in the past several weeks when I've gone on walks, I've not noticed the birds singing or the flowers blooming. My ears certainly received the sounds and my eyes took in the colors, but my heart was closed to the joy. I was numb. And as the Dalai Lama and Desmond Tutu suggest, without joy, my life had no purpose. I became embittered, hard, broken, numbed out. But I'm so grateful for the practice that allowed me to notice my suffering, my numbness, and the need to intentionally get closer to the vicinity of joy and cultivating joy as an essential part of the practice. And let me just report a bit on my progress. I'm happy to say it's working. There is hope for all of us. And I noticed, especially this week, that I have joy in seeing my blue heron, whose name is Nerlens. Nerlens is a basketball player who's really tall and skinny, so I named my heron after him. He's on the pond, and I took such joy in videotaping him in a close-up as he was sitting on my pond and noticing the sunrise and the gladness each sunrise brought to my heart. And the greeting of crows, the cawing, ah, good morning. And it's the same heron, it's the same sunrise, it's the same crow as it was a few weeks ago. But now I'm experiencing them through the lens of courageous, vulnerable, joyful effort and intention. And it makes all the difference. So I think that may be a good place to stop on that happier, joyful note as we begin our practice. Thank you so much for your kind attention.